بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Tarkashi yanzu kuma lokaci ne na neman lada domin watan Ramadan ya karatu, wata mai albarka ya sake dawowa. Don haka muna kira ga daukacin musulmi domin daukar nauyin waɗansu daga cikin shirye-shiryenmu masu albarka, tsoffi da ma sabbi. Kiran sallah, tafsirin alkur'ani mai girma, karatun alkur'ani mai girma, tattaunawa akan abubuwan da suka shafi watan Ramadan mai albarka, shirinmu mai suna matan aljanna, shirinmu na yara manyan gobe domin matasa masu tasowa, shirinmu na sauro special kai tsaye daga tashar Citizen FM. Allah ya ce wa zai bani bashi, ni kuwa in biya shi ranar kiyama. Tabbas lokaci yayi domin daukar nauyin ɗaya daga cikin waɗannan shirye-shirye, sai ka tuntube mu a lambar waya kamar haka: 08063 ko kuma 08173964218.
نعمة الله عليكم هل من خالق غير الله يرزقكم من السماء والأرض.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Super Citizen at Sunset on Citizen FM 93.7. This is the fun-packed radio show you heard about. Did you miss any one of our programming today? Join me, Diddy, from the Citizen Pot when we run through our programs from sunrise. Stay abreast, get informed on news roundup. It even gets better. Do you think you know Nigeria? Answer 3 questions correctly and be one of our daily winners on Quizzes. It is the full package. Let's take you back, way back on African Vibes. Let's celebrate the African people, the rich cultures across borders, the languages, the good food, and wealth of excellence on African Vibes. Join me every Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. It is on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja.
We teach girls shame. Close your legs, cover yourself. We make them feel as though by being born female, they're already guilty of something.
So I think right now we have the chance to be heard, and that's why we're doing it. We're all doing it because we're asking to try and elicit change.
No woman should sit down and allow a man to speak about her reproductive rights.
But it is about opening spaces for other women and not to be seen as token, and that because I'm a woman, I'm only speaking about women at the table. No, I'm speaking about the side of the table that is empty and that women have to be there. So
I want us to leave this world better than we found it. And how I choose to affect change is by speaking up, by being the first, and by being the dominant.
Over 4 billion of the world's population are girls and women, also faced with challenges that affect our world and contributing solutions to them. Let's have conversations and get some answers to them through their eyes and voices. Tune in to Perspectives, where we discuss important issues ranging from climate change, politics, health, the economy, and lifestyle on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. Weekdays from midday. Perspectives. Conversations that matter.
.7 Citizen FM.
Let's talk about it on our favorite radio station.
We're more than just a radio station. We are a part of your life.
Thank you for staying tuned. It's Insights on Citizen FM 93.7. My name is Lawrence Omoite. Since the restoration of democratic rule in 1999, the National Assembly has been said to be a learning process, in quote. And this has witnessed the election and removal of various presiding officers over the years. There have always been agitations from Nigerians on the role of the lawmakers at the federal level. This set of Nigerians often wonder how the roles of the parliament impact on the lives of citizens. Attention most times is on the budget of the legislature, how much they earn, the type of cars they drive, and other things. But the National Assembly, as the third arm of government, is also considered the weakest link in government today. Perhaps, some say, because of a long history of military rule. But it's important to pay attention to the performance of this arm of government at the federal level especially, and even at state levels. But today, our focus is on the federal level. That's the National Assembly, comprising the House of Representatives and the Senate. This is the focus of Insight today, and my guest is Dr. Law Mefor, a forensic and social psychologist, and also a media and communication strategist. Good morning, Dr. Mefor.
Yeah, good morning, Lawrence. Good morning, Nigeria.
Yes, good morning, Dr. Mefor. Good to have you. And you can join our live stream on YouTube, and you know what to do. You type in Citizen FM 937, and you will be part of the live stream. You can also listen to us online on www.citizenfm.ng. And not forgetting that you can follow us on our social media platforms, 3 of them, on Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, on Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and also on Twitter at Citizen FM 937. So that's how it's going to be in the next 45 minutes or thereabout. What are the challenges before the 10th Assembly, which is expected to come into being in June this year? Dr. Mefor, before we start, let's have some perspective. How important is this arm of government to our democratic experience?
Yeah, well, Nigeria is practicing presidential democracy. And presidential democracy is the one that has 3 arms in terms of government. You have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. As a matter of fact, the legislature is supposed to be seen as the number 1 arm of government in a democracy, and not necessarily the executive, because the executive is a common denominator you find in all forms of government, but you don't find the legislature as an arm standing alone in all forms of government. And the legislature performs essentially 3 to 4 functions. One is representation, and the representation, people need to understand, is born out of the fact that all of us cannot gather. 210 million of us cannot gather anywhere in the world and directly make laws. So we have the country delineated into what you call constituencies, federal constituencies, state constituencies, and senatorial districts. There we gather and elect one of us to represent the district or the constituency. In other words, the people who gather in National Assembly are all Nigerians by proxy, because all Nigerians of the voting age voted that they go to Abuja and represent them in the House of Reps and in the Senate. This is one level of it. Then the second function of the legislature is what you may call, I've talked about representation, lawmaking. Lawmaking is the number 2 key function. You see, Nigeria is a country under the law. It started as a colonial amalgamation since 1914. That amalgamation was a product of the law, the colonial law. And the country became independent in 1960 by a law also, the 1960 Constitution. We became a republic in 1963 also by a law, the 1963 Republican Constitution. And up to the present one that we are operating, the one promulgated as a decree by the departing military administration regime led by Abdulsalami Abubakar, the 1999 Constitution. The 1999 Constitution as amended. That is what is sufficing now. That's what is operating now. Now, you can see that as a product of the law, the country will have to be run and kept together, progressing, developing by the law also. You can find all the laws you need in the Constitution. The Constitution is just the ground norm, which is the model law from where every other law derives its essence. What that means is that other laws will have to be made to give effect to the contemplation and the postulations of the 1999 Constitution. And that is where the legislature comes in to begin to make laws that will lead to good governance, lead to law and order, progress and development.
Okay.
So it is very, very fundamental. Then the other, the number 3 function of the legislature is what we call appropriation. Appropriation is very key, because that is the annual budget of the country. It's an act, the Appropriation Act, it's an act and therefore a law. He says that no money will be removed from the consolidated revenue of the country without being appropriated by the National Assembly. That's the position of the 1999 Constitution. So you need the National Assembly to make such a law, the Appropriation Act, so that the spending of government, to even pay salary will become lawful. So these are the 3 key rules of the National Assembly. Of course, you have the 4th, which you call the oversight. This oversight function is also very important. The National Assembly, the lawmakers will have to ensure that the money they appropriated, is being applied by the executive arm according to the proposed clause. So these are 4 functions. Give you an insight into why the legislature is inevitable and very key to the presidential democracy that we practice.
Oh, okay, Dr. Mefo, thank you for that overview. But now let's look at the 10th Assembly that is coming on board. First, the battle for the leadership is already on. And if we look at the numbers spread across the political parties, for example, in the Senate, the APC, although it has a majority, but it doesn't have an absolute majority. The APC has, for now, 55 senators, and there are 109 lawmakers in the House, in the Senate there. So in the House of Reps, the APC has 160, and there are 360 members there. So some pundits have been looking at how this battle for the leadership is going to play out. From your experience, because I know that you have a lot of experience on how the National Assembly works, what do you think is going to play out?
For me, yes, I was in the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, for a decade plus. And I was there as a technical assistant, advisor to principal officers of the Senate and 1 or 2 senators. And principal officers, the Deputy Senate President and the Senate President. I served both, in advisory and assistant capacity. So I have a fair idea of how the National Assembly really functions. And one thing that has become a recurring theme is what you may call high turnover of the members of the National Assembly. If you look at the number of senators and the House of Reps members that are not returning, they are more than half. Very alarming, not good at all. One is that you lose the institutional memory. Yes, you have committees and their clerks and their documents to fall back on. But coming there to begin to learn, the rules and all that, will take an average of a year for a lawmaker to really understand where he is and begin to make incisive contributions. So that is the first thing that I think is not very good for the country. Then the incessant change you find in the leadership. The Senate President Lawan is returning. He is coming back because he was re-elected. Ordinarily, in advanced democracies, nobody should be talking about changing the leadership of the Senate, at the level of the Senate President. Since the incumbent is returning. But if you look at the lineup of those who are, demanding that they take over that state, you can see that, Lawan is not likely to return as the Senate President. This is not good for our democracy. I'm not his fan, but I think that it's not good for our democracy. And again, there is no reason why Lawan, for example, should not return as Senate President if we really understand the belief for continuity, stability, because he did very well. There are two key legislations that he was able to push through that were possible in the Senate before him. Take, for instance, the Petroleum Industry Act. All the efforts before him failed, but he pulled it through. Then the issue of devolution of power, all the Senate before he tried to no avail to initiate and conclude the process of devolution of power. So under Obasanjo, not a clause in the Constitution was devolved from the center, yes, the legislative list to the concurrent list. It never happened, not one clause. Under Jonathan, the same thing. Nothing happened. In fact, the Senate, the Fourth Amendment, succeeded to the extent that the National Assembly passed a lot of devolution of powers into they made it, they were able to pass it, and the concurrence affirmation required from 24 states of the Federation was also obtained, and it was presented to Jonathan for action. Jonathan refused to accent, making nonsense of the whole exercise. So what that means is that under Jonathan, under Obasanjo, there was no devolution of power. But under Lawan was able to pull through 4 key devolution of powers. One is the issue of electricity that has just been signed into the concurrent list by the president.
Okay.
The issue of railway signed into concurrent list by the president. The state assembly autonomy, and of course the autonomy of the state judiciary. These things never happened under Obasanjo and under Jonathan. It was made possible by Lawan. He was the one that coordinated it, himself and Brajabianila. But you can see that nobody is even looking at their achievements, and the need for them to do more is since they are returning to the National Assembly, and therefore, if they continue in their positions and all that, they will be able to, take it from where they stop. Now, if you have full-fledged new leadership in both arms of government, it's going to cause a measure of instability, because they will come on with their own problems and so on and so forth. And for me, it's not really very good for our democracy.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Mefo, now let's look at pushing this narrative further. There are two schools of thought now. There are those who believe that the National Assembly should relate with the executive arm of government cordially to ensure stability of the process. There is another school of thought who believes that the National Assembly should exert its independence and make sure that it holds the executive to account for the actions. How do we reconcile these two schools?
Well, you see, yes, I am one of those that believe that that Lawan led the National Assembly to appear to be too subservient to the executive under Buhari. But again, you see, the end, they say, justifies the means. What is the end? Yes, very important. His achievement. He was able to use such relationship, he was able to use such cordial relationship to get the president to sign into law very key legislations that may not have been possible if he had maintained that war path kind of relationship that occurred in the past. So I believe that his diplomacy has paid off. As far as I am concerned. So what people call legislative independence, it has to be really properly defined. Because if the so-called independence did not allow Obasanjo to sign any devolution of powers into law, did not allow Jonathan to sign any devolution into law, but diplomacy got Buhari to sign them into law. So we need to really, weigh all these things and define them carefully, operationally, and realistically. What do we consider to be legislative independence? Is it when the Senate President and the Speaker are constantly quarreling with the President, working at cross purposes, challenging the President unnecessarily? We saw that in the past, since 1999. And it didn't go well, for development, harmony, because, you see, the three arms of government, they are coordinate and even equal. They check, one another. But then they are still the same government. It's still the same government. So an arm should not, take it upon itself to oppose anything, everything that comes from the executive arm. Once you maintain that posture, no matter how good, what comes from your own arm is, the executive will also oppose it. And at the end of the day, the nation suffers it.
Okay.
My point is that, the subservience, if I may use that word, of the Lawan has paid off because he has pulled through very serious legislations that didn't work under others before him. So maybe a bit of modification of his approach, but I think the approach has delivered more than others before him, and needs to be understood, perhaps studied and modified and applied to a greater and better end.
Okay, Dr. Mefo, before we go on break, let's talk about the influence of the ruling party when it comes to the issue of choosing or electing presiding officers and officers generally of the National Assembly. Yes. You remember what happened during the Obasanjo era 1999 to 2007, the number of Senate presidents that we had, and even up till 2015. In fact, there was a time that the parties would decide who becomes the Senate president or the speaker. That's one. Two, we also have issue where parties say they zone positions in the National Assembly. We've heard of that now. We are hearing clamors that certain positions should be zoned to certain parts of the country. Now, if you look at the composition of the lawmakers now, with the parties and the other opposition parties, how influential do you think the ruling party will be in pushing through its preferred candidates for these leadership positions?
Well, you see, what happened in 2015, the emergence of Saraki and Ekweremadu as Senate President and Deputy respectively, for me, it was actually an aberration because he negated the thinking and principle of party supremacy. And they were able to pull it through because as at that time, APC was just coming to power for the first time and didn't have institutional memory and represent experience to be able to weather such a shock that may be coming from what we may call political party. And so what I think should happen this time around is going to be significantly different. One is that the party is enjoying a fair majority margin, not absolute, but they are strong enough. So I really believe that the party has come of age and is experienced enough to be able to prevail on its members to do a particular line. I believe they should be able to pull it through this time around. And I also think that majority of the people are new. They are just coming. So they really have to, they are likely to fall back on the party, on if the president-elect manages to pull through, is very likely to be sworn in if you follow the law. Because the avalanche of petitions will not allow conclusion of the tribunal work before May 29. Because if you look at the grounds of petition advanced by Labour, it covers 100 pages. The one advanced by PDP, 223 pages. You discover that the tribunal will certainly need a longer time than just May 2023 to conclude its work, if it has to be thorough. If it has to really go through all the mountain of evidence and allow the prosecutors or the litigants to call witnesses and the defense to also call their own witnesses and cross-examine the witnesses, it will take quite some time. And again, the Electoral Act also does not even contemplate that, not the Electoral Act, the Electoral Act and of course the Constitution, both do not contemplate that the petitions can be rounded off before swearing in, because it allows the window of 180 days. That is about 6 months. So and May 29, just next 2 months. That means they have a balance of 3 months to really do the work thoroughly as allowed by law. What I'm trying to say is that, you have a new incoming president. Whether he will be removed by the tribunal is a different issue altogether. But, unless the process is truncated, which I don't pray, it happens, the president-elect, Tinubu, will be president May 29, because the tribunal will not finish his work. What that means is that himself, very experienced, war horse, will certainly want to be part of the process that will produce the leadership of the National Assembly. He's a player. He knows the game very, very well. So he will be interested, and he should be interested, and he will, really influence a lot going forward to ensure that whoever emerges the Senate President and the Speaker will not necessarily be pliable, but it should be somebody in his own perception he thinks he will be able to work together with. And it's very important to the President to have a National Assembly with which he shares what you may call cordial relationship. It's always very, very important. Okay. You don't want to be looking over your shoulder all the time because people are collecting signatures and threatening to impeach you and all that. It's distracted. So, but if the President takes interest in who becomes Senate President and who becomes Speaker, you may reduce the chances of such rancor that must come when you assume the saddles and you didn't take interest, and you have people who are belligerent, who are even enemies, come to power at the National Assembly, and they constitute themselves are stumbling blocks to the programs and aspirations of the new government. So that's it.
All right, Dr. Mefo, we need to take a short break. We will return, and when we come back, there are certain other challenges before this 10th assembly that we will need to explore. Please don't go away. Yes. Insight will return in a moment.
Standing by.
Yeah.
Investigations, special reports, analysis, and breaking news. Premium Times, a leading multimedia news platform, brings to you every minute stories that helps you make informed decisions and hold public officials, individuals, and organizations accountable. We have cartoons, videos, podcasts, and other interesting content for your delight. For timely update on politics, entertainment, sport, and business, visit our website on www.premiumtimesng.com and follow us on all our social media platforms. Don't miss out.
Hi, my name is Rita Ezenwa Okoro, the founder and lead visionary of Street Project Foundation. Join the Street Project Foundation ambassadors Fridays, 8:30 a.m. on Citizen FM 93.7. We will be addressing key social issues such as xenophobia, police brutality, religious intolerance, youth profiling, insecurity, and other social issues in our radio drama series titled Omo, This is Real Life. Remember, Fridays, 8:30 a.m. on Citizen FM 93.7.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Super Citizen at Sunset on Citizen FM 93.7. This is the fun-packed radio show you heard about. Did you miss any one of our programming today? Join me, Diddy, from the Citizen Pot when we run through our programs from sunrise. Stay abreast, get informed on news roundup. It even gets better. Do you think you know Nigeria? Answer 3 questions correctly and be one of our daily winners on Quizzes. It is the full package. Let's take you back, way back on African Vibes. Let's celebrate the African people, the rich cultures across borders, the languages, the good food, and wealth of excellence on African Vibes. Join me every Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. It is on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja.
We teach girls shame. Close your legs, cover yourself. We make them feel as though by being born female, they're already guilty of something.
So I think right now we have the chance to be heard, and that's why we're doing it. We're all doing it because we're asking to try and elicit change.
No woman should sit down and allow a man to speak about her reproductive rights.
But it is about opening spaces for other women and not to be seen as token, and that because I'm a woman, I'm only speaking about women at the table. No, I'm speaking about side of the table that is empty and that women have to be there. So
I want us to leave this world better than we found it. And how I choose to affect change is by speaking up, by being the first and by being the dominant.
Over 4 billion of the world's population are girls and women, also faced with challenges that affect our world and contributing solutions to them. Let's have conversations and get some answers to them through their eyes and voices. Tune in to Perspectives, where we discuss important issues ranging from climate change, politics, health, the economy, and lifestyle on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. Weekdays from midday. Perspectives. Conversations that matter.
Citizen FM Abuja.
Thank you for staying tuned. It's still Insight on Citizen FM 93.7. My name is Lawrence UMOUTTE, and my guest has been Dr. Law Mefo, a forensic and social psychologist, and also a media and communication strategist. Dr. Mefo, thank you for standing by.
Thank you. I'm here.
Okay, yes. You can also be part of this program on YouTube, live stream, by typing in Citizen FM 93.7. You can also listen to us online on www.citizenfm.ng. Our social media platforms are also there for you to interact with us on Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, and also on Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and on Twitter at Citizen FM 937. And the phone lines are also open. You can call us on 0818 2222 That's 0818 2222 You can also send us a WhatsApp message on any of those numbers, and let's talk. We are looking at the challenges before the 10th Assembly, the National Assembly, coming in June at the expiration of the current National Assembly. And as I said earlier, my guest is Dr. Law Mefo. Dr. Mefo, let's look at one other issue which a lot of people describe as distractions for National Assembly members over the years, and that has always been the clash of interests, personalities between these lawmakers and their state governors.
Yes. You see, the governors have been living like emperors because before the signing into law legislative autonomy at state level and judiciary autonomy as well by the president. Just a week or so ago, the governors have been having a free rein. Nobody checks them. So the National Assembly members, particularly the senators, have often been viewed as rivals. And of course, the advent of what we call constituency projects. These are constituency projects actually an aberration, but a necessary one because projects are essentially within the purview and the contemplation of the Constitution. It's clearly an executive function. But the legislators, have made a case that, making laws has not been sufficient for them to present to their constituents as a scorecard, that they need to show them something. So they needed to have some projects attached to their name. And that is how the issue of constituency project came about. And now it is such that during the annual appropriation, the members of the House of Reps and the Senate giving some envelopes to bring into the budget some projects they want inserted in the budget so that it will be executed in their constituencies, and they will take credit and show up their image and their performance, so that their constituents would have something they can look at and say, yes, our senator, our honorable member has done this, he has done that. The people, Nigerian masses don't care about the laws. They don't. It's the translation of those laws into benefits, into welfare, into amenities. That is just what they want to see. So now this has become a source of a problem between them and the state governor. The governors, for example, would want all the development projects attributed to them. They hijacked the local government funds They use the funds as they like, because there is a constitutional provision for that, what we call the JAC account. That joint account is presided over by the governor. So even the local government administration is completely dead in Nigeria as we speak. So the senators, when they appear on the scene, they are also seen as rivals, and many of them would want to become governors, and governors would want to impose their proteges. So that's just the foundation of the crisis. Okay. The governors would want to either return, if they are first-time governors, or while exiting, put their protege there. So this is the problem. The protege may not be the senator, and the senator would want to become governor. It's an aberration in our case. You see, if you go outside Nigeria, it's not coming from Senate to become a governor. It should be the other way around. It is the governor that should become a senator. But in our own case, senators will want to go down and become governors.
Okay,
so that is it.
Doctor, and let's look at another issue too. If you look at the spread of the membership of the 10th Assembly, that's the lawmakers elect now, you see that they are evenly spread, sort of. But over the years, we've noticed that even though you have this picture at the beginning of the session or the tenure of these lawmakers, somewhere along the line, defection sets in, and you see more lawmakers gravitate towards the ruling party. And when it gets towards election time too, you now see that a lot of lawmakers also move on to several other political parties for exigency purposes and for survival. What effect does this spate of defection have on the quality of our lawmaking?
You see, you just identified one other major problem that our democracy has been facing. Whether we like it or not, what we practice at the moment is not yet a party democracy. You don't have political parties in the strict sense of the word in Nigeria. Political parties are formulated essentially on ideology. What can anybody say is the ideology of PDP and APC, for example? Nothing. That is why their two constitutions are almost indistinguishable. So their members don't have any ideological differentiation. They don't. So they can wake up PDP and sleep APC. That's the way it is. And until that is dealt with, you will not have this spate or this spate of defection really go away. It will continue. That is one level of it. Then another aspect is that there is no law that is really rigid in defining what we call political party fidelity. For example, there is what we call the waiver. That means somebody can just come in, in the morning of the primaries of a political party, and then be given the flag of the party, and what you call the waiver is proclaimed. That mustn't be. That waiver must be cancelled in all the political party laws if you want what we are talking about to really go away. Because when, if for example, that happened, if that had happened, right, people wouldn't have emerged as the presidential candidate of the Labour, because he wasn't in Labour. He was not in Labour. But such what you may call a laxity in law allows that fluidity. But again, if you also look at the way the tyrannical and dictatorial ways the political party leadership, has often muzzled its members, then you will see why such a law may still be good. For example, if Obi had stayed in PDP, he wouldn't have run. He wouldn't have run, and he most likely wouldn't have become the VP. So, but he came out and ran and made an impact and won a few things for himself. and for generality of Nigerians who believe in him. Because the parties themselves are not prepared to follow their own rules. That is the problem.
Okay.
Eneki Hedioha, just 1 minute.
Okay.
Eneki Hedioha just left the PDP primary election just yesterday, not up to 24 hours. Why? Because the National Working Committee of the PDP has allowed Sam Dadi, the National Secretary, to run without first resigning. That is the problem. So even the parties are not prepared to follow their own rules. There is a rule in the PDP that says there should be a rotation of power between between the North and South when it comes to the office of the president. What that means is that even Atiku was not even qualified to run for president under the PDP if PDP had followed its own constitution. And if they follow their own constitution, Peter Obi wouldn't have left. If they follow their own constitution, the G5 wouldn't have left. Look at the mess. So the problem is in the way and manner we have handled the political processes and the laws governing the political parties in Nigeria. The people mess everything up.
All right, Dr. Mefa, we'll have a whole week devoted to the political parties and internal democracy. But before we round off, Dr. Mefa, over the years, the number of bills passed by the National Assembly, if you look at it, we have about 90% of them that are government bills. You have very few private member bills, and yet lawmakers are expected to make laws, introduce bills. Why do we keep having a few private member bills in the National Assembly?
Well, I already told you that you have very high turnover, so the majority of the lawmakers are newcomers, and they really don't understand what they should be doing there, and they are not prepared to even hire proper hands that will help them. They are expected to hire very proper hands, as senior legislative aides, but they will look for their acolytes who don't know anything, really, and bring them in those capacities. So what do you expect? They can't generate the appropriate ideas needed to help their principals come up with very important bills. If you go to the National Assembly website, you will actually see that you have an avalanche of private member bills. Really, many of them, but most of those bills are not quite what the nation really needs at the moment. You can see bills talking about politique bags and all those things. We have far more important things to really talk about than some of the flimsy issues that they bring up as laws and motions just to get into the books that they are doing something in the National Assembly. So on the whole, most of them don't really have the grasp of what the job is because they are new to the job. And by the time they gain experience, it's another election cycle, and they normally lose. The majority of them will never come back. So you will have the whole process repeated again. That is one. Number two, and perhaps more important, is the fact that in a presidential democracy, the government, is in a better position to determine the kind of policies and programs they want to pursue. And these programs and the policies and projects would require legislation. So it is the president, via the Attorney General, that will always craft those things into bill. And it is a priority because that is what the government wants to do. One political economist called Thomas Dyer defined policy as what government chooses to do or chooses not to do. So you can pass 1 million private member bills. If the president doesn't think that they are important, he will not find the need to law. That is the truth. In the present, the number of laws sent to the president, for instance, this last legislation that carried a number of them as what we call devolution of powers. The president rejected 19, and signed into law, I think 12 or 16, I can't remember now. But he rejected as many as 19. And one of the bills from National Assembly on devolution that he rejected is quite key. It has to do with airports. If they had signed airports into law, then states will be able to organize their airports better, make them more viable, and make them tools for state regional integration and development. But the president rejected it. And then, you see, you need to understand these dynamics for you to know why what the government considers a priority is what will eventually fly. Because the president is holding a veto. And even though the National Assembly can also counter-veto the president when he rejects a bill by passing it a second time by 2/3 majority. But how do you muster that? Okay. In a National Assembly that is sharply divided, between North and South, between Islam and Christianity, between the rich and the poor, the place does not have the kind of cohesion that will enable the National Assembly to veto the president. It has happened in this democracy only once, when Dr. Chuba Kadibo was Senate president.
Okay, Dr. Lawmefo, we really appreciate your intervention, but I'm afraid we have to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Dr. Lawmefo, forensic and social psychologist. The pleasure is always mine. Thank you so much. Well, that's our package on Insight today. The program returns tomorrow. Have a beautiful day ahead.